to talk. We're going to try to read the Bible in like a week. So right now we're in currently Samuel, and Samuel is currently, um, you know, in Israel, and we're gonna get over. We're gonna read the whole Bible. So that's the goal, and it's not just to read the Bible. Like the goal is to basically do this, like change on what we dwell on. So like avoid negative thinking, negative thoughts, and then yeah, because what yeah, because like the thoughts what you have, it's kind of like a they're like curse, and like they could either turn into nothing or into like a roar, and then so stop focusing on like the darkness basically, like under the dark cloud. And if you are a true Christian, like they believe that Jesus is the only way, like the way Jesus thinks is to like basically um yeah, it's like very cool. It's like basically to like dwell. If you're like dealing with like negativity, despair, it's good to dwell on like the word, like the blessings that you have. And like the enemies basically like fear, pride, self-sabotaging, all of it, all these things. And then yeah, we basically fall into like negative thinking, a lot of us. And then one moment. And then yeah, right now we're gonna read the Bible, not just to read it, but to like dismantle our current way of thinking. Because it like the Bible says that God creates rivers in dry wastelands. So it's cool to change perspectives. It's cool to change perspectives, and then yeah, so changing your perspective is going to be like a goal from reading the Bible. The Old Testament, a lot of people complain that it's like boring, but we'll see, we'll see. We'll get over the Old Testament. Yeah. Yeah, another reason why we're reading the Bible is like to dismantle negative ways of thinking again, and negative actions is like it's like negative actions is exponentially worse than like the good things that like happen to us, most likely because we dwell on them, and then it just spirals. It spirals. So we're basically doing this to like not spiral, and yeah, we're gonna go over this, and like to not hear the enemy's voice, but God's voice. Like to change negative voice and the negative thoughts and the negative perspective. That's what we're here to do, and why we're trying to read the whole Bible. I don't know. We can, there apparently it's possible to read the whole Bible in 24 hours. I don't know if that's gonna be possible for us, but it's going to be it's going to be weird. We'll see what we can do. So right now we're currently in Samuel's final public speech. Then Samuel said to all of Israel, "I've carefully listened to everything you said to me, and placed a king over you. Now you can see that the king is leading you. As for me, I'm old and gray, and my sons are here with you. I have led you from my youth until now. Here I am. Bring charges against me before the Lord and his anointed. Whose ox or donkey have I taken? Whom have I wronged or mistreated? From whom have I accepted a bribe to overlook something? I will return it to you. You haven't wronged us. You haven't mistreated us. And you haven't taken anything from anyone," they responded. He said to them, "The Lord is a witness against you, and his anointed is a witness against against huh? And his anointed is a witness. Where am I? Uh-huh. Against you, and his anointed is a witness today that you haven't found anything in my hand. He is a witness, they said. Then Samuel said to the people, the Lord who appointed Moses and Aaron, and who brought your ancestors up from the land of Egypt is a witness. Now present yourselves, so I may confront you before the Lord about all your righteousness acts he has done for you and your ancestors. Then Jacob went to Egypt. Your ancestors cried out to the Lord, and he sent to them Moses and Aaron, who led your ancestors out of Egypt and settled them in a place, but they forgot the Lord their God. So he handed them over to Sisera, commander of the army of Hazor, and the Philistines, the king of Moab. These enemies brought up against them. Then they cried out to the Lord and said, we have sinned, for we abandoned the Lord and worshipped the Baals and Ashtoreths. Now rescue us from the rescue us what? From the power of our enemies, and we will serve you. So the Lord sent Jerubbaal, Barak, Jephthah, and Samuel. He rescued you from the power of the enemies around you, and you lived securely. But when you saw that Nahash, king of the Ammonites, was coming against you, you said to me, no, we must have a king reign over us, even though the Lord your God is your king. Now there is a king you've chosen, and the one you requested. Look, this is the king the Lord has placed over you. If you fear the Lord, worship and obey him, and if you don't rebel against the Lord's commands, then both of the kings who reign over you will follow the Lord your God. However, if you disobey the Lord and rebel against his command, the Lord's hands will be against you, and it was against your ancestors. Now therefore present yourselves and see this great thing that the Lord will do before your eyes. Until the wheat harvest today, I will call to the Lord, and he will send thunder and rain, so that you will recognize what an immense evil you have committed in the Lord's sight by requesting a king for yourselves. Samuel called on the Lord, and on that day the Lord sent thunder and rain. As a result, all the people greatly feared the Lord and Samuel. They pleaded with Samuel, pray on the Lord your God for your servants, so we won't die. We have added to the sins of the evil. We have added to all the sins the evil of requesting a king for ourselves. Samuel replied, Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, even though you have committed. Wow, Samuel replied, Don't be afraid, even though you have committed all this evil. Don't Even though you have committed all this evil, don't turn away from following the Lord. Instead, worship the Lord with all your heart. Don't turn away to follow worthless things that can't profit or rescue you for they are worthless. The Lord will not abandon his people because of his great name, because he has demanded to make you his own people. As for me, I vow that I will not sin against the Lord by ceasing to pray for you. I will teach you the good and the right way. Above all, fear the Lord and worship him faithfully with all your heart, and consider the great things he has done for you. However, you continue to do what is evil, Both you and your king will be swept away. Saul's failure. Saul was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned 42 years over Israel. He chose 3,000 men from Israel for himself. 2,000 were in Saul and Mishash in the Bethel hill country, and 1,000 were with Jonathan at Gibesh of Benjamin. He sent the rest of the troops away, each to his own tent. Jonathan attacked the Philistine garrison that was in Geba, and the Philistines heard about it. So Saul blew the ram's horns throughout the land, saying, "Let the Hebrews hear, and all Israel hear the news. Saul was attacked, the Philistines garrison, and Israel is now repulsive. It is now repulsive to the Philistines." Then the troops were summoned to join Saul and Gilbab. The Philistines also gathered to fight against Israel. 3,000 chariots, 6,000 horsemen, and troops as numerous as the sand on the seashore. They went up and camped at Mikmash as the Beth Aven. The men of Israel saw that they were in trouble before the troops were. The men of Israel saw that they were in trouble because the troops were in a difficult situation. They hid in caves, in thickets, among rocks, and holes in cisterns. Some Hebrews even crossed the Jordan to the land of Gad and Gilead. Saul, however, was still at Gilead, and all his troops were gripped with fear. He waited 7 days for the appointed time that Samuel had sent, but Samuel didn't come to Gilead, and the troops were deserting him. So Saul said, bring me the burnt offering, and the fellowship offering." Then he offered the burnt offering. Just as the king finished the burnt offering, Samuel arrived. So Saul went out to greet him, and Saul asked, "What have you done?" Saul answered, "What I saw that the troops were deserting me, and you didn't come within the appointed day of the Philistines were gathered at Michmash. I thought, Philistines will now descend on me at Gilead, and I haven't sought the Lord's favor. So I forced myself to offer the burnt offering." Samuel said to Saul, "You have been foolish. You have not kept the command. You have not kept the command of the Lord God gave to you. It was at this time that the Lord would have permanently established your reign over Israel. Ah, but now your reign will endure. The Lord has a man after his own heart, and the Lord has appointed him as a ruler over his people, because you have not done what the Lord commanded." Then Samuel went from Gilgad to Gibeah in Benjamin. Paul registered the troops who were with him, about 600 men. Saul, his son Jonathan, and the troops who were with them were staying at Geba in Benjamin, and the Philistines were camped at Miksha. Raiding parties went out from the Philistines' camp in 3 divisions. One division headed towards the Ophrah road, heading into the land of Beth Horon road, and the last division headed down the border road that looks out over the Zeboim Valley towards the wilderness. No blacksmith could be found in the land of Israel, because the Philistines have said otherwise. The Hebrews will make swords or spears. So all the Israelites went to the Philistines to sharpen their pillows, mattocks, and axe sickles. The print was 2/3 of a shekel for plows and mattocks, and 1/3 a shekel for pitchforks and axes, and for putting a point on a cattle prod. So on the day of the battle, not a sword or spear could be found in the hand of any of the troops who were in Saul and Jonathan. Only Saul and his son Jonathan had weapons. Jonathan's victory over the Philistines. Now Philistine garrison took control of the pass at Misha. That same day, Saul's son Jonathan said to the attendant who carried his weapons, "Come on, let's cross over to the Philistine garrisons on the other side." However, he did not tell his father. Saul was staying under the pomegranate tree in Migron and on the outskirts of Gibesh. The troops with him numbered about 600. Isaiah, who was wearing an ephod, uh, Ahijah, who was wearing an ephod, who was there, he was with the son of Ahitub, the brother of Ichabod, son of Phinehas, son of Eli, and the Lord's priest of Shiloh. But the troops did not know that Jonathan had left. There were sharp columns of rocks on both sides of the pass that Jonathan intended to cross to reach the Philistines' garrison. One was named Bozez and the other Senech. One stood in the north in hill of the Mikshas, and the others on the south in front of Geba. Jonathan said to the attendant who carried his weapons, "Come on. Come on, let's cross over to garrison. Ah, let's cross over to garrison of these uncircumcised men. Perhaps the Lord will help us." Nothing can make the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few. His armor bearer responded, "Do what is in your heart. You choose. I'm right here. I'm right here with you, whatever you decide." "All right," Jonathan replied. "We'll cross over to the men and then take them to see us. If they then take them to see us. If they say, 'Wait until we reach you,' then we will stay there where you are and not go up to them. But if they say, 'Come on up,' then we'll go up because the Lord has handed them over to us. That will be our sign." They let themselves be seen by the Philistines' garrisons. And the Philistines said, look, the Hebrews are coming up on the holes where they've been hiding." The men of the garrison called Jonathan and his armor bearer. "Come on up, and we'll teach you a lesson," they said. "Follow me," Jonathan told his armor bearer, "for the Lord has handed them over to Israel." Jonathan climbed up using his hands and his feet with his armor bearer behind him. Jonathan cut them down, and his armor bearer followed him and finished them off. In the first assault, Jonathan and his armor bearer struck down about 20 men in a half-acre field. A defeat for the Philistines. Terror spread through the Philistines' camps, and the open fields of all the troops sent the garrison and the raiding parties were territories, the fields, the earth. Even the garrison and the raiding parties were terrified. The earth shook. The terror spread from God. Then Saul's watchmen in Gibesh of Benjamin looked. They saw the panicking troops scattering in every direction. So Saul said to the troops with him, "Call the roll and determine who has left us." They called the roll and saw that Jonathan and his armor bearer were gone. Saul told Ahijah, "Bring the ark of God," for it was with the Israelites at the time. While Saul spoke to the priests, the panic in the Philistines' camp increased so in intensity. So Saul said to the priests, "Stop what you're doing." Saul and all the troops with him assembled and marched in the battle, and there are Philistines were fighting against each other in great confusion. There were Hebrews from the area who had gone earlier into the camp to join the Philistines, but even they joined the Israelites who were with Saul and Jonathan. When all the Israelite men who had been hiding the hill country of Ephraim heard that the Philistines were fleeing, they joined Saul and Jonathan of the battle. So the Lord saved Israel that day. Saul's rash oath. The battle extended beyond Beth-aven, and the men of Israel were worn out that day, for Saul had placed the troops under an oath. "The man who eats food before evening, before I have taken vengeance on my enemies, is cursed." So one of the troops tasted my food. Everyone went into the forest, and there was honey in the ground. When the troops entered the forest, they saw the flow of honey, but one of them ate any of it. Because they feared the oath. However, Jonathan had not heard his father make the troops swear the oath. He reached out with the hand of the staff he was carrying and dipped it into the honey. When he ate the honey, When he ate the honey, he had renewed energy. Then one of the troops said, "Your father made the troops solemnly swear, the man who eats honey today is cursed." And the troops were exhausted. Jonathan replied, "My father has brought trouble to the land. Just look at how I have renewed energy because I tasted a little of this honey. So much better if the troops had eaten freely today from the plunder they took from their enemies. Then the slaughter of the Philistines would have been much greater." The Israelites struck down the Philistines the day from Mishmash all the way to Aijalon. Since the Israelites were completely exhausted, they rushed into the plunder, took sheep, goats, cattle, calves, slaughtered them into the ground, and they ate the meat and the blood still in it. Some reports to Saul, "Look, the troops are sinning against the Lord by eating meat with the blood still in it." Saul said, "You have been unfaithful. Roll a large stone over here at once." Then he said, "Go up, go among the troops, and say to them, 'Let each man bring me his ox or his sheep. Do the slaughtering here, and then you can eat. Doesn't don't sin against the Lord by eating meat with the blood in it." So every one of the troops brought his ox that night and slaughtered it there. The Saul hit an altar in the Lord, and it was the first time he built an altar to the Lord. Saul said, "Let's go down after the Let's go down after the Philistines tonight and plunder them until morning. Don't let even one remain." "Do whatever you want," the troops said. But the priest said, "Let's approach God here." So Saul inquired of God, "Should I go after the Philistines? Will you hand them over to Israel?" But God did not answer him that day. Saul said, "Do not answer him all day." Saul said, all all your leaders of the troops, let us investigate how this sin has occurred today. As surely as the Lord lives, who saves Israel, even if it's because of his son Jonathan, he must die." Not one of the troops answered him. So he said to all Israel, "You will be on one side, and I and my son Jonathan will be on the other side." And the troops replied, "Do whatever you want." So Saul said to the Lord, "God of Israel, why have you not answered your servant today? If the unrighteous is in me, or if the unrighteous is in me, or in any, or in my son Jonathan, Lord God of Israel, give him Urim. But if the fault of your people Israel, give Thummim." Okay, Thummim. That's just weird. Welcome, guys. How's everyone? So Saul said to the Lord, "God of Israel, why have you not answered your servant today? If the unrighteous is in me, or in my son Jonathan, Lord God of Israel, give Urim. But if the faith is in your people Israel, give them." Jonathan and Saul were selected, and the troops were cleared of the charge. Then Saul said, "Cast the lot between my and my son Jonathan." And Jonathan was selected. Saul commanded him, "Tell me what you did." Jonathan told him, "I tasted a little honey with the end of the staff I was carrying. I am ready to die." Saul declared to him, "May God punish me, and do so severely, if you do not die, Jonathan." But the people said to Saul, "Must Jonathan die who accomplished such great endurance to Israel? No, the Lord lives, not a hair of his head will fall to the ground, for he worked with God's help today." So the people redeemed Jonathan, and he did not die. Then God gave up the pursuit of the Philistines, and the Philistines returned to their own territory. Summary of Saul's kingship. When Saul assumed the kingship over Israel and fought against all his enemies in every direction, against Moab, the Ammonites, Edom, and the king of Zob, and the Philistines, wherever he turned, he caused havoc. He fought bravely, defeated the Amalekites, and rescued Israel from those who plundered them. Saul's sons were Jonathan, Ishbi, and Malikush. The names of his two daughters were Merab, and the firstborn was Michal, the younger, and name of Saul's wife was Ahinoam, daughter of Ahimaaz. The name of the commander of his army was Abner, son of Saul's uncle Ner. Saul's father was Kish. Abner's father was Ner, son of Abihail. The conflict with the Philistines was fierce all the days Saul. So whenever Saul noticed any strong or valiant man, he enlisted him. Saul rejected as king. So Samuel told Saul, "The Lord sent me to anoint you as the king over the people of Israel. Now listen to all the words of the Lord. This is what the Lord of armies say. I witnessed what the Amalekites did to the Israelites when they opposed them along the way as they were coming out of Egypt. Now go and attack the Amalekites and completely destroy everything they have. Do not spare them." Troll, welcome, welcome. Thank you for the likes. Do not spare them. Unalive the men and women, infants, and bruising babies, and what? What? Oxen and sheep, camel and donkeys. Damn! Vicious. The Old Testament is vicious, guys. Holy crap. Then Saul summoned the troops and counted them at Telaim. 200,000 foot soldiers and 10,000 men from Judah. Saul came and to the city of Amalek and set up an ambush in the wadi. In the wadi, he warned them. He warned the Kenites, "Since you showed kindness to the Israelites when they came out of Egypt, go and leave. Get away from the Amalekites, and I'll sweep you away with them." So the Kenites withdrew from the Amalekites. Then Saul struck down the Amalekites from Havilah all the way to Shur, which is next to Egypt. He captured King Agag and Amalek alive, but he completely destroyed all the rest of the people with the sword. Saul and the troops spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, goat, cattle, and choice animals, as well as the young rams, and the best of everything else. They were not willing to destroy them, but they did destroy all the worthless and unwanted things. Then the word of the Lord came of Samuel. "I regretted that I made King Saul, for he has turned away from following me and has not carried out my instructions." So Samuel became angry and cried out to the Lord all night. Early in the morning, Samuel got up to confront Saul, but it was reported to Samuel. Saul went into Carmel, where he set up a monument for himself. Then he turned around and went down to Gilgad. When Samuel came to him, Saul said, "May the Lord bless you. I have carried out the Lord's instructions." Samuel replied, "Then what is this sound of sheep, goats, and cattle I hear?" Saul answered, "The troops brought me them from the Amalekites and spared the best sheep, goats, and cattle in order to offer a sacrifice to the Lord your God, but the rest was destroyed." "Stop exclaiming, Samuel. Let me tell you what the Lord said to the last night." "Tell me," she replied. Samuel continued, although you once considered yourself unimportant, have you not become the leader of the tribes of Israel? The Lord anointed you king over Israel, and then sent you on a mission and said, 'Go and completely destroy the sinful Amalekites, fight against them until you have abandoned them.' So why didn't you obey the Lord? Why did you rush to the plunder? So that was evil in the Lord's sight. But I did obey the Lord, Saul answered. I went to the mission the Lord gave me. I brought back King Agag and Amalek, and I completely destroyed the Amalekites. The troops took sheep, goats, and cattle from the plunder, the best of what was set apart from destruction. So sacrifice to the Lord your God at Gilgad. Then Samuel said, does the Lord take pleasure in burnt offerings and sacrifices as much as in obeying the Lord? Look, to obey is better than sacrifice. To pay attention is better than fat of rams. Damn. So, like, right here, they're saying it's better to, rather than, like, to give something as sacrifice, it's better to obey the Lord. Rather than to pay attention is it's better to pay attention than to have like fats of rams. Like, damn. For rebellion is like the sin of divination, and defiance is like the wickedness of an idolatry. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. Saul answered Samuel, I have sinned, and I have transgressed the Lord's command and your words. But I was not afraid of people, I obeyed them. Now therefore, please forgive my sin and return with me so I can worship the Lord. Samuel replied to Saul, I will not return with you because you rejected the word of the Lord, and the Lord has rejected you from being king over Israel. Then Samuel turned to Saul, gobbed at the corner of his robe, and it tore. Samuel said to him, look, the Lord has torn kingship of Israel away from you today, and has given it to your neighbor, who is better than you. Furthermore, the Eternal One of Israel does not lie or change his mind, for it is not man who changes his mind. For it is not man who changes his mind. That is so true. That's so true when reading the Bible. Like, you guys can fool yourself. Like, people can, like, fool themselves, right? But you can't. They can, like, pretend to be good people, right? But they can't. They can't. Um, they can pretend to be good people, right? But, like, what is in their heart? What is in their heart, guys? What is in their heart? Welcome. We're currently reading the Bible. How's everyone doing? Welcome joining. We're currently reading the Bible. We have so not bad. Let's see. Damn. Hope everyone is good. How is everyone? All right. Samuel said, I have sinned. Please honor me now. So the elders of my people and before Israel came back with me so I can now bow in worship to the Lord your God. Then Samuel went back following Saul, and Saul bowed down to the Lord. Samuel then, bring me King Agag and Amalek. Aging came to him trembling, for he thought, certainly the bitterness of death has come. Samuel declared, as your sword has made woman childless, so your mother will be childless among women. Then he hacked Agag to pieces before the Lord at Gilgal. Samuel went to Raham, and Saul went up to his home in Gilead. And Saul, even to the day of his death, Samuel never saw Saul. Then Samuel mourned for Saul, and the Lord regretted he had made Saul king over Israel. Samuel anointed David. The Lord said to Samuel, how long are you going to mourn for Saul? He has rejected him as king. I have rejected him as king over Israel. Fill your horn with oil and go. I am sending you to Jesse of Bethlehem, because I have selected a king from his sons. Samuel asked, "How can I go? Saul will hear about it and unalive me." The Lord answered, "Take a young cow with you and say, 'I have come to sacrifice to the Lord.' Then invite Jesse to the sacrifice. And I will let you know that you are to do. You are to anoint for me the one I indicate to you." Samuel did what the Lord directed, went to Bethlehem. Then the elders of the town went. Then Samuel did what the Lord directed and went to Bethlehem. When the elders of the town met him, they trembled and asked, "Did you come in peace?" "In peace," replied. "I've come to sacrifice to the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice." When he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice, when they arrived, Samuel saw Elijah and said, "Certainly the Lord's anointed one is here before him." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look at his appearance or his stature, because I have rejected him. Humans do not see what the Lord sees, for humans see what is visible, but the Lord sees the heart." Damn, that's fire. Humans see what is invisible. Humans see what is visible, but the Lord sees the heart. Jesus called Abinadab and presented him to Samuel. "The Lord has chosen this one either." Samuel said. Then Jesse presented Shammah, Samuel, but that Jesse called Abinadab. Joseph called Abinab and presented him to Samuel. "The Lord hasn't chosen this one either," Samuel said. When Jess presented Samuel, but Samuel said, "The Lord hasn't chosen this one either." After Jesse presented 7 of his sons, then Samuel told Jesse, "The Lord hasn't chosen any of these." Samuel asked, "Are these all the sons you have?" "There is still the youngest," he answered, "but right now he is tending the sheep." Samuel, who told Jesse, send for him. He won't sit down until he won't sit down to eat until he gets here. So Jesse sent for him. He had beautiful eyes and a healthy, handsome appearance. So the Lord said, "Anoint him, for he is the one." So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed him in the presence of his brothers, and the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully on David from the day forward. Then Samuel sent out and went to Ramah, David in Saul's court. Now the Spirit of the Lord had left Saul, and an evil spirit sent from the Lord began to torment him. So Saul's servant said to him, "You see that an evil spirit from God is tormenting you? Let our Lord command your servants here in your presence to look for someone who knows how to play the lyre. Whenever the evil spirit from God comes on you, the person can play the lyre, and you will feel better." When Saul commanded his servants, "Find me someone who plays well, and bring him to me." One of the young men answered, "I have seen a son of Jesse of Bethlehem who knows how to play the lyre, and he is a valiant man, a warrior, eloquent, handsome, and the Lord is with him." Then Saul dispatched messengers to Jesse and said to him, "Send me your son David, who is with the sheep." So Jesse took a donkey loaded with bread and wineskin and one of the young goats and sent them with his son David to Saul. Then David went to Saul and entered his service. Saul loved him very much, and David became his armor bearer. Then Saul sent word to Jesse, "Let David remain at my service, for he has found favor with me." For he has found favor. For he has found favor. Where am I, guys? I'm having a headache. Saul loved him very much, and David became his armor bearer. Then Saul sent word from Jesse, "Let David remain in my service, for he has found favor with me." Wherever the Spirit from God came on Paul, David would pick up his lyre and play, and Saul would then be relieved, feel better, and the evil spirit would leave him. David versus Goliath. Didn't we already read this? We already read this. We already read this. What? Yo, we already read this. Okay, where did we leave off? Okay. Okay, we're here. We're actually here, guys. What? When Simon son of Gera crossed the Jordan, he fell face down towards the king, and he said to him, "My lord, don't hold me guilty, and don't remember your servant's wrongdoings on the day of my lord the king left Jerusalem. May the king not take it to heart, for your servant knows that I have sinned. But look, today I am the first one of the entire house of Joseph to come down to meet the Lord the King." Abishai, son of Shalu, asked, "Shouldn't Shimei and put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed?" David answered, "Son of Zerubbabel, do we agree on anything? Have you become Sons of Zerubbabel, do we agree on anything? Have you become my adversary today? Should any man be unalived in Israel today? I am not aware that today I am king over Israel." So the king said to Shimei, "You will not die." And then the king gave him the oath. Mephibosheth, Saul's grandson, went down to the king. He had not taken care of his feet, trimmed his mustache, or washed his clothes from the day the king left until the day he returned safely. When he came from Jerusalem to meet the king, he left until the day he returned safely. When he came from Jerusalem to meet the king asked himself, "Mephibosheth, why didn't you come with me?" The Lord the king replied, "My servant Ziba betrayed me. Actually, your servant said, 'I'll saddle the donkey for myself, so that I may ride and go with the king, for your servant is lame.' Ziba slandered your servant to my lord the king, but my lord the king is like the angel of God. So do whatever you think is best, for my grandson's entire family deserves death from the Lord the king. But you set your servant among those who eat at your table. For so what further right do I have to keep on making appeals to the king?" The king said to him, "Why keep on speaking about these matters of yours? I hereby declare you and Ziba are to divide the land." Mephi Mephibosheth said to the king, "Instead, since my lord the king has come to this place safely, let Ziba take it all." Barzillai the Gilad had come down from Rogelim and accompanied the king to the Jordan River to see him off at the Jordan. Barzillai was a very old man, 80 years old, and since he was a very wealthy man, he had provided for the needs of the king while he stayed in Mahaname. The king said to Barzillai, "Cross over with me, and I'll provide for you at my side in Jerusalem." Barzillai replied to the king, "How many years of my life are left that I should go up to Jerusalem with the king? I'm now 80 years old. Can I discern what is pleasant and what is not? Can your servant taste what he eats or drinks? Can I hear the voice of the male and female singers? Why should my servants be an added burden to my lord the king? Since your servant is only going to the king a little way across the Jordan, why should the king repay me with such a reward? Please let me, uh, please let your servant returns. Please let your servant return, so that I may die in front of the city near the tomb of my father and mother. But here is your servant Chimham. Let him cross over to my lord king, who do for him what seems good to you." The king replied, "Chimham will cross over with me, and I will do for him and what seems good to you, and whatever you desire from me I will do for you." So all the people crossed the Jordan, and the king crossed. The king kissed Barzillai and blessed him, and Barzillai returned to his home. The king went to the Gilad and Timran and went to him all the troops at Judah, and half of Israel escorted the king. Suddenly all the men of Israel came to the king. They asked him, "Why did you, our brothers, the men of Judah, take you away secretly and transport the king and his households across the Jordan, along with all of David's men?" All of the men of Judah responded to the men of Israel, "Because the king of our relative. Why does this make you angry? Have you ever eaten anything of the king, or has been honored at all?" The men of Israel answered to the men of Judah, "We have sent tens. We have sent The men of Israel answered the men of Judah. Thank you for the likes. Oh, thank you for the gift. Have a question if you don't mind. Yeah, what's the question, G? What's the question, G? The men of Israel answered the men of Judah, "We have 10 shares of the king, so we have a greater claim to David than you." Why? Well, why does this make me angry? Have you ever eaten anything of the king, or has been honored at all? All the men of Judah responded to the men of Israel, "Because the king is our relative. Why does this make you angry? Have you ever eaten anything of the kings, or has been honored at all?" The men of Israel answered the men of Judah, "We have ten shares of the in the king, so we have a greater claim to David than you. Why then do you despise us? Weren't we the first to speak of restoring our king?" But the words of the men of Judah were harsher than those of the men of Israel. Damn. Sheba's revolt. Sheba's revolt. Now a wicked man, a Benjamite, Sheba, son of Bishi, happened to be there, but he blew the ram's horn and shouted, "We have no portion in David, no inheritance in Jesse's sons, each man to his tent, Israel." So all the men of Israel deserted David and followed Sheba, son of Bichri. But the men of Judah, from the Jordan all the way to Jerusalem, remained loyal to their king. When David came to his place in Jerusalem, he took the 10 cubic coins he had left to take care of the place and placed them under the guard. He provided for them, but he was not intimate with them. They were confined until the day They were confined until the day of their death, living as widows. But the king said to Amasa, summon the men of Judah to me within 3 days, and be here yourself. Amasa went to summon Judah, but he took longer than the time allotted him. So David said to Abishai, Sheba, son of Bichri, will do more harm to us than Absalom. Take your Lord's soldiers and pursue him, or he will find fortified cities and elude us. So Joab's men, the Cheremites of Bele, uh, so Joab's men, the Cheremites, the Pelethites, and all the warriors marched out under Abishai's command. They left Jerusalem to pursue Sheba, son of Bichri. They were in great storm in Gibeon. When Amasa joined them, Joab was wearing his uniform, and over it was a belt around his waist, his sword in his sheath. And as he approached, the sword fell out. So Joab asked Amasa, are you well, my brother? Well, this is right hand of Joab grabbed Amasa by the beard to kiss him. Amasa was not on guard against the sword in Joab's hand, and Joab stabbed him in the stomach, and it was spilled and spilled his intestines out of the ground. Joab did not stab him again, and Amasa died. Damn, why is this so brutal? Joab and his brother Abishai pursued Sheba, son of Bichi. One of Joab's young men had stood over Amasa, saying, whoever favors Joab and whoever is for David, following Joab. Now Amasa has been writing, in this blood, in the middle of the highway, and the man had seen what all the troops stopped. So he moved Amasa from the highway in the field and threw a garment over him, because he realized that all those who encountered Amasa were stopping. When he was removed from the highway, all the men passed by and followed Joab to pursue Sheba, son of Birshi. Sheba passed through all the tribes of Israel, and Abel of Abeth Mecca. All the Berites came together and followed him. Job's troops came and besieged Sheba in Abel of Bethlehem, of Beth Macha. They built up a siege ramp against the outer wall of the city, while all the troops with Job were battering the wall it to make to make it collapse. A wise woman called out from the city, "Listen, listen, please tell Job to come here and let me speak with him." When he had come near her, the woman asked, are you Job?" "I am," he replied. "Listen to the words of your servants," he said to him. He answered, "I'm listening." He said, "In the past they used to say, 'Seek counsel in Abel,' and that's how they settled disputes. I'm one of the peaceful and faithful in Israel, but you're trying to destroy a city. But you're trying to destroy a city that is like a mother in Israel. Why would you devour the Lord's inheritance?" Job protested, "Never. I would never devour or demolish. This is not the case. There is a man named Sheba, son of Bichri, from the hill country of Ephraim, who has rebelled against King David. Deliver this one man, and I will withdraw from the city." The woman replied to Job, "Watch, his head will be thrown over the wall to you." The woman went to all the people with her wise counsel, and they cut off the head of Sheba, the son of Bichri, and threw it in Job. So he blew the ram's horns, and they dispersed from the city, each to his own tent. Joab returned to the king in Jerusalem. Joab commanded the whole army of Israel. Banai, son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and Pelethites. Adoram was over forced labor. Jehoshaphat, son of Ahilud, was court historian. Sheba was court secretary. Zadok and Abiathar were priests. And in addition, Ida the Jairite was David's priests. Justice for the Gibeonites. During David's reign, there was a famine for 3 successive years. So David inquired to the Lord. The Lord answered, "Is this due to Saul and his bloody family, because he unalived the Gibeonites?" The Gibeonites were not Israel, but rather a remnant of the Ammonites. The Israels had taken an oath concerning them, but Saul had cried to unalive them in his zeal. So the Israelites of Judah. So David summoned the Gibeonites and spoke to them. He asked the Gibeonites, "What should I do for you? How can I make atonement for, so that you will bring a blessing on the Lord's inheritance?" The Gibeonites said to him, "We are not asking for silver and gold from Saul or his family. We cannot put anyone to death in Israel. However, you say, 'I will do for you,'" he said. They replied to the king, "As for the man who annihilated us and plotted to destroy us, he would not exist within the whole territory of Israel. Let 7 of his male descendants be banded over to us, so that he may hang them in the presence of the Lord at Gibeah of Saul, the Lord's chosen." The king answered, "I will hand them over." David spared Mephibosheth, the son of Saul's son Jonathan, because of the oath of the Lord that was between David and Jonathan, Saul's son. But the king took Armoni and Mephibosheth, who were the 2 sons whom Rizpah's daughter of Aiah had borne to Saul, and the 5 sons whom Merab's daughter of Saul had borne to Israel, son of Barzillai and Meholith, and handed them over to the Gibeonites. They hanged them in the hill of the presence of the Lord. The 7 of them died together. They were executed in the first days of the harvest, at the beginning of the barley harvest. The burial of Saul's family. Rizpah, Aiah's daughter, took the sackcloth and spread it out for herself on the rock for beginning of the harvest until the rain poured down from the heavens and the bodies. She kept the birds in the skies from them day by day, and the wild animals at night. When it was reported to David that Saul's concubine Rizpah's daughter of Aiah had done, he went and got the bones of Saul and his sons from the citizens of Jabesh Gilead. They had stolen them from the public square. Beth Shan, where the Philistines had hung the bodies of the day of the Philistines, unalive Saul at Gilboa. David the bones brought from there. They gathered up the bones of Saul's family, who had been hanged, and buried the bones of Saul and his son Jonathan at Zillah, in the land of Benjamin, in the tomb of Saul's father Kish. They did everything the king commanded. After this, God was receptive for prayer for the land. The Philistine giants. The Philistines were again waged war against Israel. David went down with his soldiers and they fought the Philistines, but David became exhausted. Then Ishbi ben Noth, one of the descendants of the giants, whose bronze spear weighed about 8 pounds, and who wore new armor, instead intended to unalive David. But Abishai, son of Zeruiah, came to his aid, struck the Philistines, and unalived them. Then David then David's men swore to him, "You must never again go out with us to battle. You must not extinguish the lamp of Israel." After this, there was another battle with the Philistines of Gob. At the time, Jebediah and Judah killed Saph, who was one of the descendants of the giants. Once again, there was a battle with the Philistines at Gob, and Elathan, son of Jairus, and Bethlehem, and alive Goliath of Gath. The shaft of his spear was like a weaving's beam. At Gath there was still another battle. A huge man was there with 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot, 24 in all. He too was a descendant from the giant. When he taunted Israel, Jonathan, son of David's brother Shimei, unalived him. These 4 were descendants from the giant in Gath. These 2 were descendants from the giant in Gath, and were unalived by David and his soldiers. David's song of thanksgiving. David spoke the words of his song to the Lord on the day the Lord rescued him from the grasp of all his enemies, and from the grasp of Saul he said, "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer." Damn, this is cool. My God, my rock, where I seek refuge, my shield, the horn of my salvation, my stronghold, my refuge, and my Savior, you save me from violence. I called to the Lord, who is worthy of praise, and I was saved from my enemies. For my waves of death engulfed me, the torrents of destruction terrified me, the ropes of Sheol entangled me, the snares of death confronted me. Damn. I called to the Lord in my distress. I called to my God. From his temple he heard my voice, and my cry for help reached his ears. Then the ear shook the quack. The foundations of the heavens trembled. They shook because he burnt with anger. Smoke rose from his nostrils, and consumed fire came from his mouth. Coals were set ablaze by it. He sent the heavens and came down. Total darkness beneath his feet. He rode on a cherub and flew, soaring on the wings of the wind. He made darkness a canopy around him, gathering a water in thick clouds. From the radiance of his presence, blazing coals were ignited. The Lord thundered from heaven. The Most High made his voice heard. He shot arrows and scattered them. He hurried lightning bolts and routed them. The depths of the sea became visible. The foundations of the world were exposed at the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of breath of his nostrils. Damn. This is good. This is fire. The The bent He bent the heavens and came down, total darkness beneath his feet. He rode on a cherub and flew soaring on the wings of the wind. He made darkness a canopy around him, a gathering of water in thick clouds. From the radiance of his presence, blazing coals were ignited. The Lord thundered from heaven. The Most High made his voice heard. He shot arrows and scattered them. He hurled lightning bolts and routed them. The depth of the sea became visible, and the foundation of the world were exposed. At the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. He reached down from the high and took hold of me. He pulled me out of the deep water. He rescued me from my powerful enemy and those who took and hate and those from my powerful enemy and from those who hate me, for they were too strong for me to confront. They confronted me in the day of my calamity, but the Lord was my support. He brought me out of the spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness. He repaid me according to the cleanness of my hands. For I have kept the ways of the Lord, and have not turned from my God of wickedness to wickedness. Indeed, I let all my ordinances guide me, and have not disgraced his statutes. I was blameless before him, and he kept myself from my iniquity. So the Lord repaid me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness in his sight. With the faithful you prove yourself faithful. With the blameless you prove yourself blameless. With the pure with the pure you proved yourself pure, but with the crooked you proved yourself shrewd. You rescue an oppressed people, but your eyes are set against the proud. You humble them. The Lord, you are my lamp. The Lord illuminates my darkness. With you I can attack a barricade, and with my God I can leap over a wall. God, his way is perfect. The word of the Lord is pure. He is a shield to all who take refuge in him. For who is God besides the Lord? And who is a rock? Only our God. God is my strong refuge. He makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer and sets me securely on his height. Damn. Thank you for the likes, G. Yeah, we're currently reading. For who is God besides the Lord, and who is a rock? Only our God. God is our only refuge. He makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer and sets me securely on the heights. He trains my hands for war. His arms can bend a bow of bronze. He, you have given me a shield of your salvation. Your help exalts me. You make a suspicious space beneath me for my steps, and my ankles do not give way. I pursue my enemies and destroy them. I do not turn back until they are wiped out. I wipe them out and crush them, and they do not arise. They fall beneath my feet. You have clothed me with strength for battle. You subdue my adversaries beneath me. You have made my enemies retreat before me. I annihilate those who hate me. They look, but there is no one to save them. They look to the Lord, but he does not answer them. I pulverize them like dust on the earth. I will crush them and trample them like mud in the streets. I have freed you have freed me from the feuds among my people. You have preserved me as head of nations, of people. I had not known serve me. The people I have not known serve me. Foreigners submit to me crying. As soon as they hear, they obey me. Foreigners lose heart and come trembling for their fortifications. The Lord lives. Blessed be my rock. For God, the rock of my salvation, is exalted. God, he grants me vengeance and casts down people under me. He free he frees me from my enemies. You exalt me above my adversaries. You rescue me from violent men. Therefore, I will give thanks to you among the nations, Lord. I will sing praise about your name. He is a tower of salvation for his king. He shows loyalty to his anointed, to David and his descendants forever. David's last words. These are the last words of David. The declaration of David, son of Jesse. The declaration of the man raised on high, the one anointed by God of Jacob. This is the most delightful of Israel's songs. The Spirit of the Lord spoke through me. This song was on the tongue. Oh, his word was on my tongue. The God of Israel spoke. The Rock of Israel said to me, the one who rules the people with justice, who rules in the fear of God, is like the morning light when the sun rises on a cloudless morning, the glistening of rain on sprouting grass. It is not true, my house is with God, for he has established a permanent covenant with me, ordered and rescued in every detail. Will he not bring about my whole salvation in my every desire? But all the wicked are like thorns ranked aside. They can never be picked out by my hand. The man who touches them must be armed with iron and the shaft of a spear. They will be completely burnt up on the spot. Exploits of David's warriors. These are the names of David's warriors. Joseph Bashebed of Tenkomite was chief of the officers. He wielded his spear against 800 men that he unalived at one time. After him, Eleazar, son of Dodo, son of Ahohite, was among the three warriors with David. When they defiled the Philistines, the men of Israel retreated into the palace they had gathered for battle. But Eleazar stood his ground and attacked the Philistines under his hand and was tired and struck with his sword. The Lord brought about a great victory that day. Then the troops came back to him, but only to plunder the dead. After him was Shammah, son of Agi, and the Hararite. The Philistines had assembled in formation. Where there was a field full of lentils, the troops fled from the Philistines, but Shammah took his stand in the middle of the field, defended it, and struck down the Philistines. So the Lord brought about a great victory. The three of the 30 leading warriors, went down at harvest time and came to David at the cave of Adullam, while a company of Philistines were camping in the valley of Rephaim. At the time, David was the stronghold of the Philistines. At the time, David was in the stronghold at the Philistines' garrisons at the Bethlehem. David was extremely thirsty and said, "If someone would bring me water to drink for the well of the city gate at Bethlehem." So three of the warriors broke through the Philistine camps and drew water from the well at the gate of Bethlehem. They brought it back to David, and he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it into the Lord. David, the Lord, "I would never do such a thing. It is not the blood of men who risk their lives." So he refused to drink it. Such were the exploits of the three warriors. Abishai, Joab's brother, and the son of Zeruiah, was the leader of. He wielded his spear against 300 men and unalived them, gaining a reputation among the three, who was not more honored than the three. He became their commander, even though he did not become one of the three. Benai, son of Jehoiada, was son of the brave man from Casbel, a man of many exploits. Benai unalived two sons of Ariel of Moab, and he went down into a pit into the snowy day and unalived the lion. He also unalived an Egyptian, an impressive man. Even though the Egyptian had a spear in his hand. Benjamite went down to him with a club snatched in the spear of the Egyptian's hand, and then unalived him in his own spear. There were the exploits of Benai, son of Jehuda, who had a reputation among the three warriors. He was the most honored of the 30, but he did not become one of the three. David put him in charge of his bodyguards. Among the 30 were Joab's brothers Asahel, Elahim, son of Dodo, and of Bethlehem, Shamath the Harodite, Elka the Harodite, Helez the Palatite, Irason of Ikesh of Tekotite, Abizer of Anothite, Mesuz of Mebunai of the Hushathite, Zalmon the Ahohite, Maharai the Netophathite, Heleb son of Manaen, the Metophalite, Ita son of Ribai from Gibesh. Of the Benjaminites, Benaith, the Phirothite, he died from the Waris of Gash, Abi Ablon from Arbadite, Asmaved of. Thank you guys. Welcome. Let's see. One moment. Let's see. One moment. What is the. Se van a ir con ustedes ahorita. Oh no. Here. So the Lord is my fortress, my deliverer. Right here. So, David's songs of thanksgiving. David spoke the words of this song to the Lord on the day the Lord rescued him from the grasps of all his enemies and from the grasp of Saul. He said, "The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer, my God, my rock where I seek refuge, my shield, the horn of my salvation, my stronghold, my refuge, my savior and save me from violence. The I call to the Lord who is worthy of praise, and I may that and that I save that and I was saved from my enemies, for the weaves of death engulfed me, for the torrents of destruction terrified me, the ropes of Sheol entangled me, the snares of death confronted me." Damn. I called to the Lord in my distress. I called to my God. From my temple he heard my voice and cry for help. And cry for help reached his ears. Then the earth shook and quaked. The foundations of the heavens trembled. They shook because he burned it with anger. Smoke rose from his nostrils and consumed fire came from his mouth. Coals were set ablaze by it. He bent the heavens and came down, a total darkness beneath his feet. He rode on a cherub and flew soaring on the wings of the wind. He made darkness a canopy around him, a gathering of water and thick clouds from the radiance of his presence. Blazing coal were ignited. The Lord thundered from heaven. The Most High made his the Most High the Most High. He made darkness a canopy around him, a gathering of water and thick clouds. The radiance of his presence blazed coal, the lightning, blazing coal were ignited. The Lord thundered from heaven. The Most High made his voice heard. He shot arrows and scattered them. He hurled lightning bolts and routed them. The depths of the sea became visible. The foundations of the world were exposed. At the rebuke of the Lord, at the blast of the breath of his nostrils. Welcome, welcome. This is some pretty cool stuff, guys. We're reading the Bible. We're going to try to read the whole Bible. I don't know if it's possible to read it in 24 hours, but we can read a lot of it. We can read a lot of the Bible. So, he reached down from the high and took hold of me. He pulled me out of the deep water. He rescued me from my powerful enemies and from those who hated me. For they were too strong for me. They confronted me in the day of my calamity. But the Lord was my support. He brought me to a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. He brought me out to a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me. The Lord. One moment. The Lord rewarded me according to my righteousness. He repaid me according to my cleanness of my hands. For I have kept the ways of the Lord and have not turned from my God of wickedness. Indeed, I let all his ordinances guide me and have not discarded his statutes. I was blameless before him and kept myself from my iniquity. So the Lord repaid me according to my righteousness, according to my cleanness of his sight. With the faithful, you prove yourself faithful. With the blameless, you prove yourself blameless. With the pure, you prove yourself pure. With the crooked, you prove yourself shrewd. You rescued an oppressed people, but your eyes are set against the proud. You humble them. Lord, you are my lamp. The Lord illuminates my darkness. With you, the Lord illuminates my darkness. With you, I can attack a barricade. And with my God, I can leap over a wall. God is God. His way is perfect. The word of the Lord is pure. He is the shield to all who take revenge on in him. Wow. Very beautiful. Welcome, welcome, guys. We're reading the Bible. Thank you for the likes. Whoa. There's more? These are very beautiful. Who is God besides the Lord? And who is the rock? Only our God. God is my strong refuge. He makes my way perfect. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He sets me securely onto the heights. He trains my hands for war. My arms can bend a bow of my hands can my arms can bend a bow of bronze. I have given me the shield of your salvation. You help me, your help exalts me. You make me a spacious place for beneath me for my steps, and my ankles do not give way. I pursue my enemies and destroy them. I do not turn back until they are wiped out. I wipe them out and crush them, and they do not rise. They fall beneath my feet. You have clothed me with strength for battle. You subdue my adversaries beneath me. You have made my enemies retreat before me. I annihilated those who hate me. They look, but there is no one to save them. They look to the Lord, but he does not. They look to the Lord, but he does not answer them. I pulverize them like dust of the earth. I crush them and trample them like mud in the streets. You have freed me from the feuds among my people. You have preserved me as head of nations. A people have not no serve me. Foreigners submit to me cringing. As soon as they hear, they obey. Foreigners lose heart and foreigners lose heart and come trembling from their fortifications. The Lord lives. Blessed be my rock. God, the rock of my salvation, is exalted. God, he grants me vengeance and casts down peoples under me. Welcome, welcome. Hello. We're currently reading the Bible. He freed me from my enemies. You exalt me above my adversaries. You rescued me from violent men. Therefore, I give thanks to you among your nations, God. I will sing praise about your name. He is a tower of salvation for his king. He shows loyalty to his anointed, to David and his descendants forever. David's last words. These are the last words of David, the declaration of David, son of Jesse, the declaration of the man raised on high, on the anointed one by the God of Jacob. This is the most delightful of Israel's songs. The Spirit of the Lord spoke through me. His word was like on my tongue. The God of Israel spoke. The God of Israel said to me, "The one who rules the people with justice, the rules in the fear of God is like the mounting light when the sun rises on a cloudless morning, the glistenings of rain on spring grass. It is not true, my house is with God, for he has established a permanent covenant with me. Ordered and rescued in every detail will he not bring about my whole salvation, and in every desire. But all the wicked are like thorns, raked aside. They can never be picked up by my hand. The man who touches them must be armed with iron and a shaft and a spear. They they will be completely burned up on the spot. Exploits of David's warriors. These are the names of David's warriors. Okay, these are all warriors. Welcome, welcome. I saw one. I saw one of your reposts. What was the repost? Am I a Christian? Kinda. Like, I wouldn't call myself a Christian. Currently looking for a job, but since like I'm applying and like I'm getting some interviews but no luck, and since I have so much free time, I'm like, why don't I read the Bible? I'll read the Bible. It's probably gonna take me like a week. So yeah, like I just have too much time in my hands. So I'm gonna read the Bible, guys. Josheth Basahes of Takimonhed was chief of the officers. He wielded his spear against the 800 men that unalived him at the time. After him, Eleazar, son of Dodo, son of an Ahonite, was among the three warriors with David. Then they defied the Israelites, the men of Israel, created in the place they had gathered in battle. Uh, but yeah, welcome, welcome, guys. You're a new Christian? That's cool. You're a new Christian? That's cool. All right. So, Joseph Basaheh, the Takemonite, was chief of the officers. He wielded his spear against 800 men that he unalived at one time. After him, Eleazar, son of Dodo, son of an Ahonite, was among the three warriors of the men who, with David, when they defiled the Philistines, the men of the Israel, created in the place they had gathered for battle. But Eleazar stood his ground and attacked the Philistines until his hand was tried until his hand was tired and struck to his sword. The Lord brought about a great victory that day. Then the troops came back to him, but only to plunder the dead. Damn, plunder the dead. Holy crap. That sounds vicious. Plundering the dead. Holy crap. After him was Shamath, son of Agri, and Harai. The Philistines had assembled in the formation where there was a field full of lentils. Full of what? Lentils. The troops fled from the Philistines, but Shamath took his hand in the middle of the field, defended it, and struck down the Philistines. So the Lord brought about a great victory. 3 of the 50 leading warriors sent down to harvest the time and came to David at the cave of Adullam, where a company of Philistines was camping in the valley of Rephaim. At the time, David was in the stronghold, and a Philistine garrison was at Bethlehem. David was extremely thirsty and said, "If only someone would bring me water to drink from the well of the city gate of Bethlehem." So there were the three warriors broke into the Philistines' camp and drew water from the well at the gate of Bethlehem. They brought it back to David, and he refused to drink it. Instead, he poured it to the Lord. David said, "Lord, Lord, I would never do such a thing. It is not the blood of men who risk their lives." So he refused to drink it. Such were the exploits of the three warriors. Abishai, Shaub's brother, and the son of Zeruiah, was leader of the three. He wielded his spear against 300 men that unalived them, and gaining the reputation among the three who was not more honored than the three. He became their commander, even though he did not become one of the three. Bani Ham, son of Jehoiada, was the son of a brave man from Kabzeel, a man of many exploits. Bani unalived 2 sons of Ariel of Moab, and he went down into a pit on a snowy day and unalived a lion. He also unalived an Egyptian, an impressive man. Even though an Egyptian had a spear in his hand, Banahi went down to him with a club, snatched the spear out of the Egyptian's hand, and then unalived him with his spear. These were the exploits of Banahi, son of Jehoiada, who had a reputation among the three warriors. He was the most honored of the 30, but he did not become one of the three. Whoa. David put him in charge of his bodyguards. Among the 30 were John's brothers Asabel, Ethanan, son of Dodo, Bethlehem Shaman the Herodite, Ilka of Harodite, Elika of Harozite, Helez the Palite, Ira son of Ikesh, the Tekorite, Abiezer the Anathanite, Medulina, and Jusair Salmon the Alohite, Maharite, Zetobrite, Zeleb son of Vanah, and Nephorit, Itan the son of. Okay, these are just random names, guys. I can't even pronounce them. Damn, they keep going. Okay, there were 37 in all. David's military consensus. Alright. So the Lord's anger burned against Israel. Wow. Man, that's cool. Damn. Uh, Is that a guy or a girl? Huh?
someone I went to high school with that I never even knew or wasn't even friends with. Maybe I didn't even like them. And I'll wake up from the dream of that person and I'll go, okay, I need to pray for this person. Something is telling me to pray for this person. And I say this because I kind of just realized this major part of my testimony, which is that I was at a long point in my life where I was tormented, and I do not use that word lightly, tormented. Like, I wouldn't have been surprised if I walked into a church and 15 demons came out of my body, because I lived alone, and I struggled on and off with mental health, but this time in particular was like a year of my life where I lived by myself, and I would go to work, and I would put on this mask of customer service, average daily interactions, and I just hid this pig in my soul. And I would come home after work, and the mask would come off, and I would quite literally curl up into a ball, and I would lay on my couch in my bed, and I would just wail, I would scream, I would let out all the agony and all this pain, and I would just writhe in it, and I would literally wail for hours until nothing could come out anymore, and I would just shed so many tears, and I was just battling and writhing in this pain, this pure torture, agonizing pain. There's no way that I could really describe it other than just like pure anguish. It was my own mind just attacking me so violently. And it wasn't my mind. It was at the time, but it was demonic for sure. Because I didn't have God in my life. I didn't have a way to cast out that feeling. And every night, literally daily for a
Interesting.
year, I would come home and I would wail. I would just like sink into my own pain. It was so painful. And somehow I fought off the lies that told me that I would be better off dead. Somehow, and I came very close multiple times to giving into that lie. And the fact that I'm still here and alive today now is shocking to me still, just
Jesus
knowing where I came from. And I don't
Christ,
think
this
about
is
that time
getting
often,
my
but I started to think
thoughts.
about it now and realize that it meant something so much bigger. One, I made it through it
This
because
is
God clearly has a much bigger plan for
gross.
me. He would not have let me kill myself and be here today if I wasn't meant to do something big. And two, that there was someone out there when I was wrestling these demons and writhing in this pain that was up praying for me. And I know it was my parents. I know it was my mom and
Interesting.
my dad up at night, not knowing where their little girl was, but praying still that God has
Interesting.
me and that I'm protected. I know that it was people, family, friends that I hadn't talked to in years that were praying for me. And I know that because I've seen these people later on and they were like, I was praying for you. And man, prayer is powerful. Because I didn't even have, I didn't believe in God at that time. I had nothing. I was drowning. I was suffocating in these lies because that's the only weapon that the enemy has is lies. I was suffocating in this feeling. So first I want to remind you that if you feel like you are not enough, that no one loves you, that you shouldn't be here, that you have no worth, no value, that is a lie. That is the biggest lie on the planet. That is a lie straight from Satan. That not only do people love you, not only does your family love you, your friends love you, the impact that you make on a day-to-day ripples through your life in ways that you can't even imagine. You may have saved other people's life just by smiling at them on a day when they needed it without even knowing it. Not only is that how much you love, but the creator of our universe loves you so much, and he is there for you, and he is with you, and you are covered by the blood of Christ. Those demons can't touch you. So I pray to anybody watching this right now that I rebuke satanic, demonic spirits out of your life right now that are trying to tell you that you aren't worth being alive because you are. And the fact that you would be attacked, that you would be tormented, just means that you are such a threat to the enemy that they need to take you out because you are purely destined for something incredible, something much greater than you even realize. Take it as a compliment. I know it's hard at the moment, but I want you to never, ever, ever, ever stop fighting that because all it is lies. And I know that those lies feel very, very real. Trust me, I know. I have been there. And to the people around those people, if you see someone in your life who seems like they're honestly slipping, who seems like they're smiling in public, but they are suffocating